Hi, Arrow.
How are you doing today?
I am great. Thank you.
How many people go up to you and the first thing they say is, thank you for writing this book. I wish my mom had this book.
Well, not quite yet because it hasn't been released, but my launch team, they've seen it, and that, yes, they say this is a rallying cry for mothers to make sure that mothers are no longer marginalized and that motherhood can actually be celebrated instead of scrutinized and punished in this country.
Boy, that is so true because, in Native American spirituality, when it comes to birthdays, we are to honor our mothers. And so that's why this book is so important to me.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And, one of the reasons I wrote the reason I wrote the book, being a journalist, not only I lost my job at the beginning of the pandemic and had to figure out what next. And it was really to speak up for this group of marginalized people, which is women. And it's statistically proven, Arrow, that once we become mothers, we are paid less, we are valued less, and we are scrutinized more.
So
once
true.
we become moms, we're not viewed as viable leaders anymore. We're passed over on promotions. We're paid 70 cents on the dollar. If your mother worked, I know the majority of moms are working today because they have to. 70% of moms will be the primary breadwinner for their family. And if we continue to pay them 70 cents on the dollar, we'll continue debt and poverty. But let's value motherhood. If we don't have children, we don't have a human race.
That is so
So
true.
start celebrating us and celebrating what we uniquely bring to the table, but also honoring that we need to be a mother first. A well-supported mother is a productive and a loyal mother in the workplace.
You bring up a very interesting point about working mothers because my mother did work all the time. And so many times I felt like, well, that's that person that I live with. They say she's my mom, but she's always at work.
Yeah. Because she probably wasn't well supported.
Right.
And so often in our culture, we have to choose between kids and career, or we've been trained to think that the only way to get ahead is to forsake our family. And I just think we need to this at the end of the day, Arrow, this message supports families and it supports working moms because a healthy country has healthy families, and healthy families are going to have working moms. I hear stories like that all the time. It breaks my heart. I had to stay at home. I don't know any different. I hear from most of my mom friends who had working moms, and it usually benefits the child because the sons, at least, of working mothers grow up to be better fathers and better partners, and they carry their share load or their fair share in the home too. But we've been conditioned in this country, and you look at so many young women who are like, do I want kids or a career? We're faced with the choice. And my point is being a working mom should work. We should be supported and valued for motherhood at first, but mothers are incredibly efficient and empathetic. We are wonderful leaders and visionaries. We have courage that we didn't have before we became mothers, but don't hold us to these archaic 9-to-5 standards. Most moms want flex schedules or they want hybrid locations, right? They want maybe to choose their hours, measure the measurables. And if companies don't start listening to this, they're going to be left in the dust and they're going to face a hiring retention and crisis if they haven't already, because this is what the majority of employees want, not just moms, but let the mom be mom first and honor and value that. If you support her and allow her to be a mother first, she's a loyal employee and she's a productive employee.
You are so right about that because with my daughter, her company allows her to have her office at home as well as in Uptown Charlotte.
Amazing.
And the woman that she has become because she's got that freedom is just amazing.
Isn't it great? And again, most moms are working because they have to. When you allow her, when you take care of the employees on your roster, but when you take care of a mother, she won't leave. Mothers and fathers are proven to be the most loyal employees. And at a time when so many companies are looking for employees or they can't hold on to employees, I'm like, hire a mom, but commit to measuring the measurables with her, like your daughter. Right? She may not be able to be on every single Zoom call or every single phone call, but say, I'm going to measure the measurables. You get the job done, right? And you give flexibility, but you allow her to be a mother first. And she's going to thrive there because she feels well supported. So good for your daughter's employer for allowing her to be a mom first.
One of the things that we're going through, especially now, and I'm sure that it happened a lot in our earlier years, but mothers who are now being forced into taking care of their own mothers and brothers. And it's like, it's an unexpected job and an unexpected journey.
Right, right. That's called the sandwich generation,
Yep.
and we're taking care of our kids and our parents. I'm right in that. My dad passed away a couple of years ago, and my mom had a stroke and then seizures. She's now in assisted living. So, and that burden disproportionately falls on women so often, and a lot of that, Errol, was really fascinating for me in writing this book. It's not just like presenting a case for like how we can give working moms the support they need, but it's also the why behind it. And in order to do that, I had to really dig into history and research and figure out like how we got to this point, look at times in our country's history, especially the 50s, which we tend to romanticize, and that's where this bifurcation of men's work, women's work, woman stays home, man goes to get, gets the job and brings home the paycheck. That's where it really started. But like the most traditional family we had in America going back decades is when the mother and father co-labored and co-produced alongside of one another, and they raised the children together. So it was really fascinating to unpack it. And I had an opportunity to interview experts and researchers and moms from all walks of life and sociologists and historians to figure out like, how do we get to this point and how can we get out? So the book's helpful and it's hopeful, but you can't figure out how you got to this point if you don't do a deep dive into like, okay, how do we get here? Mm-hmm. Right? Like, so I'm diving deep into it. So it's a roadmap for a better way forward towards working and momming, but we're going to find a better way forward because we know how we got here. Yeah. We have a better idea and understanding of how we got here.
How do we get mom off the Google Calendar? Because I mean, with 2.3 kids plus dogs and cats, and you're also a coach, and now throw in, well, I didn't want to be a teacher, but I have to still be a teacher because I want to make sure you're doing your homework. So, but I mean, we got to get mom off that Google Calendar.
Yeah. And moms are often the default for that too. Like even, when I'm away this week, I'm, reminding my husband, hey, make sure the kids are doing this and that. It's, the best relationships are partnerships. And I think one of the greatest things that men can do, and Errol, this book is not a case against men. It's a case for the working mom. I have an entire chapter dedicated to how we can invite men into the conversation. Mm-hmm. You guys need to be our allies. We need parents and non-parents if we're going to create true change for families and working moms. But one of the greatest things that you can do, Errol, or I think the way you can change gender equality at home and at work is by taking paternity leave. And if you don't take paternity leave, fight for it. And the reason is because it doesn't just improve your relationship with your kids and your relationship with your partner. What it does is out of the gate, it levels the playing field. And it says, we are in this together. We are raising this child together. But if you think about it, out of the gate, the mom's the default for everything. And that's how the relationship and that's how the dynamic starts. So if we can get paternity leave, I think that'll change. I think that's the single greatest tool that we can implement in this country for gender equality out of the gate at home and at work.
You bring up a very interesting subject because one of my managers just had a baby girl, and I said, "Are you going to stay home to be with the family for a lengthy period?" He said, and we're still locked in this mode where he goes, "No, I don't want to do this to the other managers of the business." And I went, "Oh my God!" He just put the
and
job.
He's a manager?
Yes.
And that's what's scary is the manager sets the tone.
Yep.
Okay. The manager sets the tone. So now what do you think every other man's going to do?
Same thing.
Same thing. So it's so important as managers that you set the tone. And if you have these policies available, don't just offer it. You can't just talk the talk. You got to walk the walk. Former CEO, I think had like 6 months of paternity leave available, and he took a week or two. A week or two.
Yep.
Take all of your paternity leave. That right there changes gender equality at home and at work from the very beginning. And yes, I mean, there's a stigma attached to it, right? That he's feeling, and he's worried about the workload of everybody else. But here's the thing: if we don't have kids, we don't have a labor force. If we don't have a labor force, we don't have a growing economy. We need to invest in these kids. It's good for your children to take paternity leave. It's good for your partner. And it's the one thing that I think the single greatest effective thing that men can do for gender equality is fighting for paternity leave. If you don't have it, or taking it if you do have it.
We've got to show more respect for mom. And the reason why is because of the research that I've been doing on what kids are doing by breaking the rules, and they're not listening. They're making their own world. And one of the quotes that I came across in my research was, "My parents were rebellious so I could be free to do whatever I want." And I'm going, ooh, your mom needed to be home to kind of replant a different thought in your head.
Yeah. But it's not just why is that on the mom? That should be on the parents.
It should be on the parents. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. But
exactly.
Mom is just that one leader we all go to, though. I mean, that to me was my connection when I had it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. And I think like what I loved about, so, my husband never took paternity leave, but, in the last couple of years, since everything that I've been doing for Carrie, my company, which is to help carry the burdens of women through content resources and storytelling, he's really stepped it up in so many areas. Like my sons and my daughter see a partner that partners with me on literally just about everything. And so how can the mom no longer be the default for everything? Because how did women go from describing themselves as resourceful and hardworking to the burnt out mothers that we are today?
Yeah.
And that's why what was so fascinating to me, I realized I had so many blind spots, Arrow. And when I looked into America's history and talked to all of these experts, I realized like it's because of the messages that we've been hearing. It hasn't always been like this. It's the messages that we've been hearing, the messages we grew up with. It's our own inherent bias in our own childhood, right? So, but I think the best families are whether or not, and I know there's a lot of single moms out there and single parents. We have the highest rate of single children here in America. We need to give single parents much more support. And we all have a vested interest in that too. But the mom shouldn't be the default for everything. It's not good for her. It's not good for the children. We need to make it more of a partnership, and we need more support from society, not just from a policy level, but we need society to say, hey, these are our kids, even if they're not my kids.
Yep.
But our society says, your kid, your problem. We need society to say, I'm my brother's keeper. These kids are our future. They're our greatest natural resource, because they are either our greatest natural resource in the future of this country or they're not. So let's support families and let's support working moms, because I think the reason we are in the situation we're in this country is because of two things. We don't value families, and we don't value working moms. Yeah. So we all have a hand in changing that, Arrow.
We have to grow beyond something that I've seen a lot lately, and that is, and I've heard a lot lately, especially through the pandemic, is that moms like to go to a grocery store to get away. And it's like, wait a second, you don't have to go to a grocery store to get away. There's so many other places. I realize it's peaceful, it's safe, but there's got to be other places where moms can be supported with their walking periods.
Yeah, totally. I just go to TJ Maxx or Marshalls.
See?
Thank you, Arrow. I appreciate you supporting the book, okay? I wish we could talk more.
You be brilliant today, okay?
You too. I appreciate your support, and thanks for being an ally, okay?
You bet. Thank you so much.
Thank you.